Mm. You want a scary story? Really? Is that really how we're gonna do this? Fine, I guess it is a sleepover and I'm the best at it, so I might as well do it. What type of stories is it that you guys want? Actually, I have an idea. How about we go with stories that are more realistic? Things that actually happen in the real world, whether we want to deny it or not really explore it. Would you be down for that? Good. It's good. Actually, it's weird. I used to watch horror stories and stuff like that all the time just to fall asleep. I don't know, it kind of comforted me, so if you really want to do it, then I don't really mind. But are you sure? Fine. Where should we start? Oh, I think I've actually got one. Well, an ex-boyfriend who I dated for a grand total of roughly 3 weeks got really attached to me in those 3 weeks and told me he loved me after we had, well, sex. I told him I was flattered, but I didn't return the same feelings towards him. I decided to end up breaking up with him soon after that because he was way too intense for me. I told him this and he began the abuse. He began texting, calling, Facebook, messaging me incessantly. It varied wildly what he'd say as well. Began from me to come back over and have sex with him again, graphic detailing on how he hoped I would die, telling me that I was a slut, etc. I blocked him from my phone and Facebook and Snapchat after he ignored my request to stop contacting me, but he didn't stop there. He began messaging me through accounts of multiple friends. Without their permission, I later found out. And leaving me about 10 voicemails a day as well. He even got a hold of my work email, which I never gave him, and I don't even know how he got it, honestly. He ended up sending me long ass fucking paragraphs there in which he would bounce wildly between laminating his love for me, diagnosing me with various mental illnesses, which was everything from bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, MPD, and Asperger's syndrome. It was a new one each time. He dragged up the one time we had sex into it as well. And telling me that I was broken because why on earth would I not want to be with him or be in love with him? I ended up getting a new email to use for work because it turns out you can't block someone from emailing you. I once again sent a single line in reply. Just stop contacting me. But he wasn't done there. He continued. He had previously been texting me, which he was blocked for doing. He found out my MacBook can receive iMessages from his iPod Touch using my personal email address, which he did have. So here come the iMessages, mostly dick pics basically dick pics he found from 4chan, whilst calling me a slut and a whore, and taking screenshots and posting my angry and distressed replies to his friend's group chat. Screenshots of this group chat actually got sent to me, and thankfully one of his friends in the chat actually started to stick up for me. Everyone else was telling him to go and have sex with me. I ended up turning off iMessage, the function of it, from my MacBook altogether, so he couldn't do it anymore. Again, I asked him to stop contacting me, this time threatening legal action to stop it, and which he just found hilarious. I ended up going to the police and gave them his phone number so they could call him. They ended up doing so, telling him that They knew what was going on, that stalker charges would be pressed if he kept going. They told me to text him in front of them and tell them that the call was coming, basically telling him that, yeah, you know. His reply made me really angry beyond all reason now. Well, it said, "Stop contacting me now, you bitch. I have had my fun." I didn't reply under instructions from the police, but I went home and threw everything around, honestly, for about 10 minutes. I haven't heard from him since, thankfully, but it just aggravated me, I suppose you could say. But yeah, that's about it. Well, let's go on to the second story then. So, I have a question. To start the story off, do you believe in the supernatural? Thing is I do, and I grew up being able to talk to the dead. I know. I'm not here to change your beliefs or make you believe something that you don't. You'd need to go through a personal experience of yourself and your own to understand this. Personally, this was my experience, and it wasn't the only one either, but this one in particular really stuck with me. So this was about 2015, this happened, late June. I know what you're saying, that's really early compared to most stories that you'd hear on here, but yeah, I already know that. I was around 16 at the time, and it was just a really, really weird story because I still can't figure it out. I don't know if it was supernatural or if it was more human than most, and I never really did get to figure out what it was, honestly, but maybe one day I will. Now, where I live, it is basically just, when you look out from the back garden, it's just all field and forestry wrapped around. But if you look from the left hand side of the back garden, you will see a big path, well, not a big one, but you know, a medium path leading all the way up to these trees. Now, one day I was weird like this and I wrote a love letter. Yeah, I know, cheesy, but this love letter in particular, I wanted to leave out there for someone to find. Not someone, actually, I had someone in particular that I wanted to find it. The thing is I always wanted a story, but I always believed that my husband would find me one day. This was my way of doing it. So one day, I wrote this letter and it was very detailed, and it also had my name in it. Not my name, but I can't fully explain it, okay? But it wasn't in English. So the person that got it most likely wouldn't have understood what it meant, because it was more symbolized than actual wording or letters. I also done something dumb. At the time, I didn't realise that this was stupid, but I honestly thought nothing would ever have come of it. But I wrote my phone number on the back of this letter. My reasoning is, what if he found it? What if the love of my life found this letter and wanted to communicate with me? I don't know. It's just I was weird like that. Anyways, I did wander out to these forests one day, and the thing is they were very beautiful, but they were also very creepy in some ways. Most of the times you would find dead animals everywhere. And the thing is these were places where you weren't allowed to hunt, so it was strange. But this place in particular was really something to me, because most of the time you chalk this up to just kids going out to party, have a few drinks and light a bonfire, whatever, of sorts. Now, I found a fire pit in the middle of the trees, and I was just going through all of them, and I said, this is the perfect place. I took that letter and I put it actually underneath all the coal. Like, there's no way you would have found it unless you were looking for it, and it was really strange to me. I'm pretty sure I have photos of it, I'm not gonna lie, but they're on my old phone, so I'd need to go and try and find them. But I left it inside this fire pit, and then I went home. that was just kind of it. Fast forward to 3 days later, throughout a 3-day rainstorm, I honestly thought the letter would have been destroyed, especially because of the ash and the rain. But the thing is I received a text message. I was I was astonished at the time. I was like, what? This isn't real. This can't be real. What? No, someone had actually found the letter and they had managed to read the number that was like really, really small on the back. Like, because I didn't put it in big lettering. You would have had to have been looking for it, as I'm saying, especially with the letter. There's no way you would have noticed that it was there. Now, this person was texting me like, oh, I found the letter that you left. Who was it meant for? Like, trying to add, they were being polite, and then they gave an excuse to why they were down there because I was curious. But their last message to me was, thank you for leaving me the letter. No one's ever done that for me before. See, but even after that, the weird thing is that he told me that he left the letter there. And I went down to retrieve it, but when I got it, it was destroyed by the rain. So I didn't really know what to think of it. But the thing is that he did mention that he got it that day, so it wasn't like he had got the letter days in advance and then decided to contact me that day, And that really, really scared me in a way. We'll call this guy Jeff. I'm not going to give him his real name because obviously I don't want to stir a supernatural creature. I'm just joking, and I'm not going to give out real names. But anyways, it was just something that really made me feel strange listening to this, and I was really creeped out by it. Now, after he said that, I just felt really uneasy, but that was just the way it was, There wasn't anything I could do, so I just kind of stopped talking to him. A few nights after that, I actually decided to try and call them. Weirdly enough, I know it was dumb, but I was a little smart about it. I done it by turning my contact ID off so he couldn't, call me back or know it was me that was calling. The thing is the number was non-existent. It just went as if it hadn't existed. And it was weird because I tried again and then it went to the same thing. I also thought it might have been that he blocked my number, but I even tried on my friend's phone, it done the exact same thing. It was weird to me. A few weeks later, actually, before this event in particular, we had actually called again and it did ring, but no one had answered and it rung out for about a good 4 minutes. Which was strange because most calls don't last that long. But this event in particular is the reason I don't really go into these forests anymore. Thing is that it scares me a little because you really don't know what's out there. I wouldn't say that these events were that far apart. They were still in the same month of June, so it was about a week after this, about 2 weeks roughly. But basically what had happened was I was in my bed at about 3 a.m. I know, of all times to be woken up to my dog grubbling, and I did not see. The thing is, she's never like this, and it doesn't make any sense. And I bet you've heard all this before, but she doesn't do this. It's weird. There was clawing at the back door where the forest is located, and it was just clawing really, really hard and trying to handle. I don't know what was going on. My dog just started fully grumbling, and the thing is that at the time my bed was pushed up against my window, so the thing is I don't like heat, so I tend to leave my window open. Now, I don't know how it done it, but this creature, whatever the fuck it was, managed to go from the back door, right, within not even 3 seconds, and bolt run to the front of my house, and it was screaming this weird scream. I don't even know how to describe it. It was so high pitched and it just sounded demonic. It didn't sound human or even any animal that I had heard of before. Honestly, I don't really know what to say. After that, I never really heard anything again, and I kind of do believe that those incidents were tied. But that night in particular really scared me. I mean, it wasn't normal. The scream and just the way it was, just everything about it. I wish I could say I had the courage to open up the curtains and look outside and see what it was, but no, I couldn't. I was too scared to, honestly. But I suppose it crawled back into the woods. I will never know where it went after that. It's just weird though that it was my house and no one else's. What do you think? Let me know. This will be our third and last story anyway for the night, guys, but a little backstory. At the time I was 20 years old, short, petite female, and I was working at Subway. And I can't help but be nice to anyone, even if they creep me the hell out. I feel bad usually. About a year ago, we had this guy, 35 to 40-year-old, who would come in every day for lunch, and he was fascinated, and I mean fascinated by my stretched ears and the few piercings that I had in my face. Always asked questions. He would sit down after I rang him up and just watch me from the table for over 2 hours, non-stop just staring at me while I helped the other customers. This goes on for about 2 weeks. Every day he would ask for my number, saying he had plugs and tunnels he wanted to give me. And he wanted to see me wearing them. And I would always have to politely decline because, well, it was creepy at the least. One day, I was alone in the store because my manager had to run to the bank. We were usually slow that day, so I was just in the back room messing around on my phone, and I heard the door chime go. I looked up and yet no one was there, and then I saw the man walk past the front of the store really quickly, like he was in a hurry. The store phone rings. I answered it and I went, "Thanks for calling Subway, how can I help you?" And then I heard his voice. "This is the girl with the nice ears, right?" I was like, yeah, who's this? And then he said, "Are you alone in the back of the store right now? Are you working by yourself?" At this point, I got really creeped out and knew it was him. I hung up the phone and texted my manager the whole situation and to hurry back. He called again, this time asking weird questions like what would I do with him in a room with a locked door, and if I had a boyfriend, and why was I playing hard to get, etc. My manager gets back and I tell her everything. In the middle of the lunch rush, he calls again, but this time my manager answered. To this day, she never told me what he said, but the look in her face made my spine shiver. She told him if he ever called again or showed up here, she would call the police. I thought that was the end of it, but alas, I was wrong. One week, I'm clocking out and getting ready to walk to the front of my car, but I look up and look outside. I see him standing by my car and looking inside of it. I was an idiot and left the back door unlocked. I watched him crawl inside and shut the door. The creep was trying to hide in my fucking back seat. And God knows what he was going to do when I got in. My manager locked the front of the store and called the police. When they arrived, they had to pretty much drag him out of my car and he was arrested. On him was a butcher's knife, rope, and a rag with chloroform on it. If I hadn't looked up when I did, I would have probably have been dead by now. Well guys, that's it. Now let's get back to video games or something else. I don't want to make you scared before bed. Come on.